So here's a thought to start us off. What if the very letters we use, every single day, what if they aren't just random shapes?
Hmm.
What if they actually carry these deep, um, ancient meanings, rooted in really primal human experiences?
That's a fascinating way to frame it. It challenges how we usually think about the alphabet.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing today, taking a deep dive into just one letter, a seemingly simple one, D.
Just D. Okay.
We're going to explore its origins, its shape, its sound, its meaning, really. And we'll be looking at it through the lens of something called the Odam-Tilly theory.
Right, the Odam-Tilly theory.
Now, I know for those listening who follow linguistic theories, there are, well, many different ideas out there about how language began.
Oh, absolutely. It's a complex field.
And the Odam-Tilly theory, well, it might not be, universally adopted everywhere in mainstream academia, but it offers this really compelling alternative perspective.
It really does. It pushes back against the idea that language is purely arbitrary.
So our mission today, let's try to uncover how, within this particular framework, the letter D emerges as this really powerful fundamental symbol, representing things like life, readiness, the human body, giving you, the listener, a completely fresh way to look at something you use constantly without a second thought.
Exactly. And the core idea of Odam-Tilly theory is, well, it really challenges that traditional view that language is just a random invention, or maybe a set of abstract rules we sort of made up over time.
Right.
Instead, it suggests that letters, and sounds too, are deeply rooted.
Right.
Rooted in the natural world and how we perceive things, in our instinctive experiences as human beings.
So less invention, more reflection.
Precisely. It suggests language is actually a direct reflection of nature, of fundamental human behavior. Much more primal, perhaps, than we tend to imagine.
Okay, let's unpack this then. If we're talking about D as a symbol,
Yeah.
we probably need to start with the visual, right? The shape.
Yes, the shape is key.
What's so profound about, well, a straight line and a curve? It feels almost too simple sometimes.
It does seem simple on the surface, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But that simplicity might be part of its genius. If you really look at the physical form of the letter D, it's quite distinct. You've got that vertical straight line combined with a rounded arc, right, attached to its right side.
Yeah, okay. Standard capital D.
Standard D. Now, here's where the theory, well, where it gets really compelling.
Yeah.
This specific shape, if you view it from the side,
Okay.
it directly resembles the silhouette of a pregnant woman.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The vertical line, that's the spine, or maybe the upright human form in general. And that rounded curve, well, that represents the swollen womb carrying a baby.
I can see that now you say it. It's a very universal image, isn't it? Timeless.
Exactly.
Timeless.
But that's a striking parallel, sure.
Yeah.
But how do we know that ancient peoples would have made that specific connection? Couldn't it just be one interpretation among many? Maybe just a coincidence? That's a really fair question.
Yeah.
And the Odam-Tilly theory addresses that by suggesting that, look, in ancient times, humans developed symbols based on their most intimate, their most universal experiences.
Okay.
And really, was anything more sacred, more universal than childbirth? The beginning of life?
Probably not, no.
It's such a foundational human experience. It's etched into our biology, our collective memory. So the theory argues this wasn't some abstract design choice. It was more like an instinctual encoding of a primal reality.
Well, encoding something fundamental. So if that's true, it really changes how we might look at these simple shapes, doesn't it?
It completely reframes them.
What specific symbolic meanings, then, does the theory say are packed into just the shape of D?
Well, within that single shape, the theory finds a whole rich set of meanings. It signifies the body itself.
The physical body.
Yes. And also a state of readiness.
Yeah.
Creation, full form, or fullness. And ultimately wholeness. It's all about potential, really. Potential and emergence.
Potential and emergence. Okay. So the shape of D clearly holds these profound meanings, according to the theory. But you mentioned sound, too. Are you suggesting even the sound of D carries this ancient sort of primal echo? How would that work?
It does, according to the theory. Phonetically speaking, the D sound, linguists call it D.
Right.
It's what's known as a voiced dental alveolar plosive. Now, voiced means your vocal cords vibrate when you make a D. D, 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 which gives it that depth. And plosive means it's formed by a quick buildup and then a sudden internal release of air, almost a soft burst. D.
Okay, I hear that. D, it's sort of contained.
Exactly. Contained. Now, picture this in your mind. If you gently tap a pregnant belly, or maybe even a drum, what kind of sound do you get?
A low, kind of muffled sound, like a thud.
Yes, that low, soft, echoing dum-dum sound. It's resonant, but it's contained, just like you said. And it absolutely evokes the sound of life inside the womb. Maybe a heartbeat, maybe the baby moving.
Ah, okay. The dum-dum.
It's a sound of presence, you see.
Oh.
Something internal, yet very, very real.
So the theory isn't just about shapes, then. It's saying sounds aren't arbitrary either. They're also tied to these universal experiences.
Precisely. In Odam theory, sounds are seen as natural responses, almost instinctual, to patterns found in nature and within the human body itself.
Wow.
So the D sound, with that deep resonance and that contained quality, it reflects this bodily presence. It signals existence, even readiness.
Readiness, like the body being ready.
Ready for birth, yes. And it's truly fascinating, actually, that the B sound is one of the very earliest sounds babies tend to make.
Oh, yeah, like da, da, da.
Exactly, dot, dot.
Yeah.
It's relatively easy to produce physically, and the theory suggests it's instinctively recognized as a sound of presence, of confirmation. It ties directly back to this primal connection with new life, with presence.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. But you mentioned earlier that connections don't just stop with the human body.
No, they broaden out.
You said this letter somehow reaches out to even broader universal symbols. Tell me more about that. How does D connect to something like, well, land? That seems like a leap.
It might seem like one initially, but think about the analogy, a pregnant belly and land. What do they have in common visually?
They both curve upwards, they're raised.
Exactly. Both are high and full when you view them from the side. And just like the curved bump of a pregnant belly rises up, land rises from the water. A solid life-sustaining mass emerging from the, well, the formless expanse of the ocean.
Okay, the visual parallel is there. Rising up, fullness.
But there's also an incredible emotional connection here. Imagine sailors. They've been lost at sea for weeks, maybe months. And then finally, they spot land.
Relief, huge relief.
Huge relief. They don't just calmly say, oh, look, land. They shout land,
Oh.
right? There's this instinctive, almost primal celebration.
Yeah.
A celebration of finding something safe, solid, and full. A confirmation of survival, really. Much like the certainty of life developing within a womb.
So the D in land, it's not just a letter.
According to the theory, no. It signifies that sense of elevation, being above the water. It's a symbol of life-giving stability. And it carries that sound of confirmation like a baby confirming its existence. It grounds the abstract idea of land in our deeply felt human experience of emergence and safety.
That's a beautiful way to put it, grounding the abstract in experience. So, okay, we have the body, we have land. How does this core symbolism, this idea of beginning, readiness, solid reality, how does it pop up in other common words? Are there any that might surprise us?
Oh, absolutely. Once you start looking through this lens, you see it often. Consider the word day.
Day, okay.
D is the very first sound. It symbolizes the beginning, the birth of light, the start of a new cycle. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, the birth of the day, simple but powerful. What else?
Then you have words like do or done.
Actions.
Right. D here symbolizes actions being completed or initiated, something taking form, being born into reality, you could say.
Okay, like bringing something into existence.
Exactly. And think about door.
Door. How does that fit?
A door represents a threshold, doesn't it? A transition. Moving from one state or place to another. Much like birth itself is a fundamental transition.
From womb to work. Ah, okay, the transition aspect. I see that.
And then you have words like dad or even deity.
Father figures, creators.
Yes, connected directly to fatherhood, creation, origin, signifying perhaps a male origin or the source of structure, a foundation.
Mhm.
And it's also interesting just from a linguistic standpoint. Notice how the D sound often starts or ends finite actions in English. Think closed, walked, ended, died.
The past tense, bad, right?
It indicates completion or a change of state. Again, mirroring that fundamental transition from womb to birth or from one phase of existence to the next.
So across all these examples, from the beginning of a day to doing an action to closing a door, even fatherhood, D consistently seems to symbolize these core ideas. Beginning, readiness, solid reality.
Body or presence.
Transition, foundation, stable structure. It's actually quite profound for such a common, simple letter. And it really holds together as a sort of cohesive symbolic theory, doesn't it?
It does present a very consistent picture, yes.
So, okay, let's try and connect this all back to the bigger picture now. What's the really profound takeaway from the Odam theory specifically about the letter D? What should we as listeners really carry with us from this deep dive?
I think the most profound takeaway is this. Within the Odam framework, D isn't just an arbitrary mark on a page. It's viewed as a living symbol.
A living symbol.
Yes, it embodies that pregnant curve of a woman. It echoes the dumb of inner life. It mirrors the rising land from the sea. It represents the body, and it carries that fundamental confirmation of life itself. It's like a deep echo of existence built into our language.
Wow.
And this really reiterates the central idea, the main tenet of the Odam theory overall, that letters aren't just artificial constructions we invented from scratch, you know?
Right, not just random
Yeah,
agreements.
exactly. Rather, they are potentially ancient encoded reflections of the deep human connection to nature and to our own innate perception of the world and ourselves. The symbol and the sound of D, in this view, truly mirror the universal cycle of birth and life's readiness to emerge into physical form. It's like a silent language humming beneath our spoken one.
What a journey we've taken today. Seriously. From just looking at a simple letter D to uncovering this potential layer of meaning, this powerful universal symbol of life and readiness, it really makes you rethink language itself, doesn't it?
And that's precisely the goal, I think, or at least a valuable outcome. This kind of understanding, whether you fully adopt the Odam theory or just consider its perspective,
Yeah.
it helps us see letters not just as abstract signs we memorized,
Yeah.
but potentially as natural expressions of human instinct, biology, and perception.
Yeah.
It offers maybe a deeper connection to the very foundations of how we communicate. It asks us to listen and look at language in a totally new, maybe more embodied way.
So, a final thought for everyone listening. If D holds such deep, primal meaning, according to this theory, well, what other secrets might the rest of our alphabet be hiding? Right there in plain sight.
A great question to ponder.
Maybe we can encourage you to just pay a little more attention to the shapes and sounds of the words around you. And perhaps you'll start to look at language and maybe even your own daily experience just a little bit differently after today.